Hello and welcome to Wyrd Wessex.
My name's Zippy. And I'm George.
Hang on, someone's going past. I think they're running. Yeah.
But from what?
What are you running from, mate? Turn around and face your fears.
Quick warning, this episode does cover some very disturbing and violent material, so viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Wyrd Wessex. My name is Craig.
And I'm Andy.
Where are you today, Andy?
I'm in Savernake Forest. How about you, Craig?
I'm in Savernake Forest.
Look at that. The restraining order has been lifted for a day at least.
Just for today, I've allowed Andy to join me.
So yeah, we're in Savernake Forest, and it's a place steeped in history, folklore, ghost stories, and grisly murders. Grisly murders aren't usually our thing, are they? But we thought we'd address some that are quite important to the area.
Yeah, it's something that, it's quite important to Savenac. There's a couple of cases in particular, but it doesn't really fit with the folklore narrative. So I think we're going to cover them properly at a later date.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you were going to mention at least one of them?
Yes, in 1987, a 35-year-old woman was here with her two children, Susan Godfrey, and she was parked up just close to where we're sitting when a guy called Michael Ryan approached her, told her to get out of the car, get away from the car, put her kids in the car, and he walked her off into the forest. He then proceeded to empty an entire clip of a handgun into her, killing her. He left the kids where they were, he drove back to his house in Hungerford and then went on a killing spree, killing many more people in an event that was later known as the Hungerford Massacre. And at the time, I think it was the biggest mass shooting in the country's history. It's still one of the biggest. It's bar one, I think. It led to police reform, it led to gun law changes and all sorts of things. So definitely deserves its own story, really.
Yeah, I mean, I went on a bit of a rabbit hole yesterday researching Savenac, and I ended up spending probably a good couple of hours just reading about the details of the Hungerford Massacre. So I think we'll cover it as a separate episode. So if you're not into that kind of thing, you can skip by it.
Yeah, you said you had to go and watch Bluey to cheer yourself up.
I did, I genuinely did. Right, there's new Bluey out today. So first I'm going to read about Massacre, and then Bluey.
Yeah, you had one. You had one as well, a little bit more recent.
Yeah, so in 2011, a young lady called Sian O'Callaghan went missing from. She just left a nightclub in Swindon. Her boyfriend sent her a text message, which was received by her phone in Savenac. I don't think they know exactly where she was murdered in the end. Her body was actually found at Uffington, which is a little way from here, in a shallow grave. And the guy who did it is a guy called Chris Halliwell. He's a taxi driver, and from what I read, ex-burglar, which I thought was an odd detail.
Gave it up for taxi driving.
And murder.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah. And it's possible there are some theories and some books out there that claim he might have killed some other people around the country, in York and places as well, and he's possibly one of the UK's worst serial killers, if they can link him to other murders. There is one other murder that was definitely he was charged for. But there's a lot of details involved with that too, and as I say, we're a folklore podcast.
Yeah.
We want to keep it light, so we're going to do a separate episode about those two, I think.
We'll work out a bit of wordplay for how we can turn Wyrd Wessex into a crime-related title, you know. But
Crime Wessex.
Crime Wessex. Yeah, we'll work on that.
We'll work on it. It'll probably come out around the same time as this. So if you're into your true crime as well, then we'll do that as like a separate, almost a spin-off episode. But yeah, shall we go for a wander and show people some of the lovely trees and things?
There are some lovely trees here, and we'll be here until the evening. Actually, aren't we? We're
hoping to stay till after dark. We don't have any night vision cameras, but we do have torches. So I'm up for being Mulder if you can be my Scully.
Oh, I'd have to be Scully, wouldn't I? I got the hair, I guess. So, should we go and have a look at some trees?
Let's do it. Did you come here often?
Just the car park.
Yeah, so we've gone for a bit of an afternoon wander.
It's been a ramble.
Yeah. Not seen much weird stuff, have we?
No, there was the eerie music.
Yeah, why would you come to an ancient woodland and as you go for your walk have music blasting out of your phone?
Yeah, it was some people enjoying nature, and as they approached, we heard what was the song?
Oh, it's You Raise Me Up.
You Raise Me Up.
You raise me up. Oh, I better not do that.
Yeah, please don't.
We might. I meant more for copyright, you know.
Oh yeah. I
We
think
might
you can
get
get a
pulled.
small section, you know. A few
Yeah.
seconds you're allowed.
Oh, and then we found a bit of a random pigeon hanging from a
Yeah,
tree.
it wasn't even hanging from a tree. There was a dead pigeon, and it was stuffed into the crook of a tree. That was a bit weird. I think if it's not animal sacrifice from the Friends of Hecate or something,
You're in the wrong woods.
wrong woods, then I don't know. Maybe a bird of prey dropped it, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, it was really
It
jammed
was
in
wedged
there.
in, yeah. I guess we should probably explain as well where we are. So what
Yeah.
is this magnificent beast?
So it's me. I'm Andy. No.
He's such a twat.
We've been a lot.
This is why we don't record in person. Never again.
Never again. A lot of what we've been looking at so far today has been some magnificent old trees. This one is the Cathedral Oak. It's over 1,000 years old. Possibly, it's the second oldest tree in Savernake Forest. It's possibly the second oldest oak tree in the country. It sits right on the edge of, just over there, you've got Tottenham House, which is where the Earl of Cardigan lives, or his seat, and he is the Warden of Savernake Forest. That's a title that's been passed down through that family all the way back to the Norman invasion, when this was granted to by William the Conqueror to one of his followers, and I think that has been unbroken. It's the only royal forest that's
Never been sold.
never been sold, never
It's
been
always
carved
been
up.
handed down.
Yeah. So yeah, which is pretty incredible in itself, and it's mad to think that this tree here was a part of that gift from William the Conqueror. This tree was, coming up out of an acorn when, the Saxons were fighting the Danes. It's mad.
Well, there are. I've read a few. It's speculative, but possibly on his way to hide in the Somerset marshes, Alfred the Great possibly would have come through Savenac, which would have been bigger at the time.
Yeah.
It was a bigger
I suppose on the
area.
way
He would
from
have come through this way.
Chippenham to
Yeah.
Because it was Chippenham that he got surprised, wasn't it? And he got
think so.
attacked and
Yeah.
fled to Athelney.
And you've had Henry VIII as well. Used to come hunting here.
Yes, so which is pretty incredible. This, the house over there, Tottenham House, it's a replacement for Wolf Hall, and that Wolf Hall from Telly in the books. Which, when this was a royal hunting forest, that the family that had it then, or part of the same family it's been passed down through, it was the Seymour family. And while Henry VIII was staying at Wolf Hall on a hunting trip here, a lady caught his eye, Jane Seymour. And there is a story where there was a barn here that they apparently had a wedding feast in, which didn't happen. But they are supposed to have feasted there either like shortly before or shortly after the wedding. It burnt down in the 1920s, I think. But yeah, it's not too far from here. You've got it's all buried now, but Wolf Hall itself. But yeah, the current seat of the family is just over there. This is the Cathedral Oak. But there are another couple of really impressive ones as well. There's the Duke's Vaunt Oak, which is again about 1,000 years old, not quite as old as this one, but that is said to have had a door put in. It was actually supposedly a favourite of Edward Seymour, Jane's brother, when he took over the estate. He was also actually the regent looking after young Edward once Henry had died. But that was apparently his favourite tree, and he said to have had a door put in, so it was kind of like a little gateway inside the tree, because it's a great big hollow oak tree. And there was said to have been a choir in there singing at one point. He had a little choir in there singing for him, which is a great story. But my favourite one, which is one we passed on the way and we can't get to it at the moment, which is the Big Belly Oak Tree, which is the oldest oak tree in the country.
It's on the main road, isn't it?
Yeah.
So access is. I think you can get to it, but it's the other side of the forest from where we are. It's a bit of a trek.
We want to film here after dark. We don't want to be here too long after dark, But the Big Belly Oak Tree is very impressive. I mean, this one has a girth of about here. It's got a girth of 10.5 metres, which is very impressive. The Big Belly Oak has actually got an iron band around it to keep it together because it's so old, and that's a girth of 12 metres, which is mad. That's got a big hole in it as well, and there is a legend attached to that.
There is.
Apparently, if you dance around the tree, now you heard 7, I heard 12.
Yeah.
At midnight, anti-clockwise, you dance around the tree 7 or 12 times after midnight, the devil will be summoned forth.
And that's what we're going to do next, guys.
You're supposed to do it naked, so it's a little bit nippy. Maybe that's a summer one.
Yeah, all right. Well, Andy's going to come back in the summer and dance around the main road.
There is a slight problem. It's right next to the main road. So you'll either meet the devil or some policemen. I don't know.
I was thinking you'd get hit by a truck.
Or maybe
So you might meet the devil.
That's it. Or speak for yourself. So yeah, we should probably go into a little bit of folklore around the forest as well. I know there's some we want to talk to you about after dark.
Yeah, we've got some ghost stories to tell after dark. One of them, I think, comes back to Jane Seymour again, possibly.
Possibly,
There's a bit of a
tenuously.
loose- Yeah, but we can bring her up again later. But yeah, there are a couple of ghosts, or not ghosts, but folklore stories from the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do the very impressive thing of reading from a book.
Story time with Craig.
Yes. So this is Ghosts and Legend of the Wiltshire Countryside by Kathleen Wiltshire. It's a really good folklore book. But yeah, there are 2 stories connected with the area which I thought were interesting. So one revolves around a witch. But it's actually Wootton Rivers. So Wootton Rivers is actually the other side of that main road we were just talking about.
Yeah.
It's actually slightly away from Savenac.
Oh, imposter.
Yeah. But, you know, Clapham we got away with.
Yeah, and I mean,
The
to be
general
honest, as we mentioned, Savenac was a lot bigger, you know, so...
There's areas
potentially-
like Westwoods, which is a separate woodland now, but would have at one point been part of
Yeah.
Savenac. Yeah. So I'm just going to read these because I thought I could make some notes. I could remember it like a professional. Look at Andy here.
Well, you know, so I was literally up until 4 in the morning just sobbing and trying to remember all the notes.
I started to make notes on this yesterday, and I thought, is there any point, or should I just bring a book? I mean,
Can't be
yeah.
a book.
Yeah. So in 1865, a carter left Manor Farm in Wootton Rivers not long after midnight to take a wagon of corn to Devizes Market, having 3 horses to draw the load. They not got very far, and had just reached a turn in the road when the first horse dropped dead.
That's weird.
Sinister. The other 2 seemed beside themselves with fear, and they stood trembling, and nothing the carter could do would induce them to go on. At last he gave up in despair and turned their heads towards their stables. When the morning came and the body of the dead horse was examined, no cause of death could be discovered. But upon its back was found a piece of thick straw. The story goes that if the man had beaten the horse across the straw enough to draw blood, the spell would have been broken. For this piece of straw was a witch.
The piece of straw was a witch, or like...
Yes, that's what it
Okay,
says.
oh, fair enough. I
Yep.
thought it was like some kind of cursed straw that would be
No,
put
no,
there.
the piece of straw was the witch. I mean, because you have that with other things, like with elder trees. Sometimes they believe that they're witches and they
Yeah.
move in the night. And
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, elders like that, the sacred law behind
much.
elder has, gone back, you know, sort of,
So yeah, the witch was the piece of straw. But there is a connected story. So the last house in the village on the road to Savernake Forest, there was a lady that died there that was supposedly a witch, and people say that they can see her face in the window. So
That's pretty creepy. That
possibly linked to the same witch.
Yeah, I reckon that might link into what I'm going to talk about later.
Possibly. Yeah. So there's that one, and then the other one. Flick through my notes.
So it's very well organised. You've got them bound and printed and everything.
Oh yeah, I went back in time before I was born.
Good to meet you, Kathleen.
Yeah. So this is a story about a ghost house.
A ghost house.
Yeah.
Not a haunted house, a ghost house.
A ghost house. Yeah. So it says the tale comes from a letter written by T. Siddery of Chelmsford. So this is in quotations. My parents had rented a cottage in Savenac for the summer. We had just come back from India, where we went during my first year of life. I was then 8 years of age. The cottage had been rented through an advertisement, and there was no connection between us and locality. When we drove up, I asked my parents why we were arriving at the back door, only to be told the back door was the other side by the kitchen. I was puzzled by the staircase, which I maintained was the servants' and not our stairs. I was pointed out that there was only one staircase in the cottage. I persisted that there was another staircase and lots more rooms, where then only stretched a blank wall cutting off a shrubbery which grew right up to the house. My mother found out that the cottage was indeed all that was left of a large coaching inn that had been burned down some 50 years before. Only the servants' quarters had been saved, and no attempt had been made to rebuild the main part, as the need for a large place had passed. So they built a wall across, cutting off the burnt-out building, which they had roughly levelled and allowed to form a shrubbery. I can't help but think Monty Python.
A shrubbery! We demand a shrubbery!
Every time I read
Another
shrubbery.
shrubbery!
Oh dear. Yeah, so to this day I can draw the plan of the original house, which I know in detail and which subsequently proved to be wholly accurate. Here you go, a ghost house.
You hear a lot of those. I mean, I've heard stories of people stopping off, like they've been travelling at night and stopped off at an inn, and or a pub, and they've gone in and everyone's been dressed a bit weird and spoken a bit weird, and they've stayed there and then left the next day, and then they've mentioned to people, "Oh, we stayed at this pub," and someone says there's not been a pub there for 80 years. You know, it's
There's not been a pub there for 80 years.
it does make you wonder what they were paying with, though. It's like, sort of people looking and seeing, like, handing someone a note. It's like, what? It's, but yeah, no, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Don't think we've had ghost houses before.
We haven't in this really old podcast. But no, I it's not something I've come across that many versions of. Not in this area anyway. It's an unusual one. Yeah. So
But,
what's next?
So it's, as you might see, it's for those of you watching, it is getting dark. I think we should take a wander along to the Grand Avenue, which is the longest in Britain or England.
I think it might be, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's 3.5 miles.
Yeah, it's 3.5, 4 miles or something like that. It's yeah.
We might do some research on the way and actually tell you the details instead of making it up.
I know some of it. It was a lot of it was done by Capability Brown. I know that was done.
Save it. But there's some ghost stories, and we're going to wait till after dark, and we don't know what's going to happen. We're in a haunted forest.
That's it.
Hopefully this will be some live footage of us screaming, running out of the woods. The camera will fall over. Or it might cut back to Andy, and it will just be him sobbing against a tree in the dark.
Yeah, that's it.
A la Blair Witch.
I think I'm kind of disappointed we haven't found any like weird symbols anywhere or anything like that.
I said this to you earlier though, like, I don't find forests spooky.
Yet.
It's the people that are spooky, right? I mean, it's like, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, which for you guys was probably 10 minutes ago, hours ago for us, but as we mentioned then, it's the people that are scary. It's the serial
It's true,
killers.
yeah.
It's not the woods themselves. Like, this is a very peaceful place.
I remember I was walking home with an ex of mine once.
Every story Andy ever tells revolves around an ex I had once.
I disappoint a lot of
big
people.
boast.
I upset a lot of people.
How many exes have you got?
Well, it's not. It doesn't matter that. But we're walking home through this woods, and and she was quite nervous about it, and saying, and she was, convinced it was like a really dangerous place to be. And I said exactly the same thing. I was like, realistically, it's more dangerous, sort of walking along a housing estate or something like that, or sort of just, sort of downtown at night. I mean, I would have said that. What I did proceed to do was make up a horror story about those woods and a monster that's supposed to live there because I'm a bastard. But realistically, it is, as you say, it's the people that you got to be worried about.
Yeah, so we should be okay today.
But, there are some, there's a couple of stories coming up that, I wouldn't particularly like to bump into.
I would.
All right, well, let's go see if we can find them.
All right, let's go. Things are getting strange and starting to worry. This could be a case for Mulder and Scully. So we're just setting up to record on the road here, and Andy seems to be attracting some kind of strange orb towards him. There's some weird glowing light. Turn around, Andy, before it gets you. It's going to take you.
Well, here we are, Savernake Forest's Grand Avenue.
Yeah.
4 miles long, or over 4 miles long, built by Capability Brown, cutting straight through the forest with a meeting point in the middle that's said to have housed a gibbet, apparently. So
It's quite impressive in the daylight. You can't see much now, obviously, it's dark, and we are literally putting our lives at risk to bring you from this busy high street. No, in all seriousness, there's not too many dangers here, except maybe there's a
Yes.
spectre of a headless horse person.
Yes, a headless horsewoman who is said to be seen charging up and down Grand Avenue atop a great white steed whose hooves thunder and sort of make the trees around ring and shake with the sound of it. But how did she get that way? How did she become a headless horsewoman?
So the story goes, the horse is riding through the woods and a low-hanging branch takes the lady's head clean off.
Oof, that will do it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's...
There is an addition to that story as well. Later on, people added that it was none other than Jane Seymour herself riding around her old estate. Now, pretty unlikely, as any schoolchild knows, it's divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. She was the third one. She died in childbirth, sadly, and far away from here. So it's definitely not Jane Seymour, we think. Definitely someone else, I think.
Yeah. And in... very briefly, there is one other thing, which is the spectre of a horse and cart that also is seen to be riding down the avenue.
Yes, we haven't seen either of those though.
No, lots of cars.
So yes, shall we move on? We've got a few other stories to tell, I think.
We do. I think you've been scouring the internet and you found me another little story.
I have, yes. It comes from the well-known academic site, Mumsnet. Let's go.
Where am I saying?
Oh, do you want to move that? Hang on. Brr.
Go to the woods, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Oh, fucking hell, Andy, I'm too old for this yet.
Oh, you're fine, you're fine.
Right. It was a dark and spooky night in the Savernake woods. Dogs, black dogs, black dogs. Got any black dogs?
Black shuck.
Best not be. Fucking hell. Don't want to see him, do we? Reading from my book again, I am.
Oh, yeah, nice dark wood story.
So, Harry Pinchin, shepherd for more than 60 years, lived for more than 15 years with his wife and family in the only cottage in Martinsell, the hill that's just beyond Wootton Rivers near Savernake Forest. He told of a strange experience he once had in Martinsell, where he had gone to tend sick lambs. He heard Pewsey church clock strike midnight, then suddenly all the ewes started a-hollering. All 300 of them. His dog bolted away across the downs with a chee-yee-yee-yick, apparently. That's what it says. The only time he had ever been scared of anything. To this day, I don't know what it were, but it fair gathered I. Gallard, not gathered. He stood by the pens and listened, but all was quiet. But as he stood, he felt his hair, as if it were straight up under me cap. I'd rather be in any number of thunderstorms than go through that again.
It does say cheek.
Told you. I could read that again. I cocked it up halfway through, but no, we're going to leave it in.
Nice.
It's a nice little story. There is a story of a black dog, I believe.
Yes, I did find one attached to Savernake Forest that was...
You tell that, and I'll see if I can find... There was one in here, I think, as well.
Well, I've got another one that goes along with it as well, so maybe they're all the same, maybe it's a pack of them, but there is said to be a black dog that stalks the eaves of the forest. Large, shaggy, with eyes the colour of burning coals. I couldn't really find many accounts of it, or any really, although there is said to be at a nearby hotel. I think it might be called the Savernake Forest Hotel. We'll put a correction here if it's wrong. But it's an old hotel, an old coaching inn, and there's said to be a black dog that wanders the grounds there that just disappears. No one knows who it belongs to, who the dog is, or, you know, sort of if there's any owner. At the same hotel, though, they have seen a Victorian gentleman in a pipe cap smoking a pipe, and I think the description was a sad-eyed girl of about 12 years old that hangs around downstairs. And there's also accounts of the pumps being turned off or on at night and the taps being left on. So yeah, and that's just on the edge of the forest. Found anything?
I found another spectral horse, but not the one I was looking for. This is not the dog you're looking for. Dean Waterbottom by Wootton Rivers. Here we go, we found it.
Ah, there we go.
Page 3.
You often frequent that, don't you?
Bastard. Right, so, black dogs. So, a huge black dog was said to be sometimes met at Dean Waterbottom, a very lonely spot on the road between Wootton Rivers, a village on the edge of the Savernake Forest, and Pewsey, where a brook crosses the road and is much overhung by trees. This dog was variously called the devil or a murderer by the villagers. It was a strange true tale of a headless skeleton. Skellington?
Jack.
Skellington, found between the wattles of a very old cottage wall when it was being repaired in 1930. Old tales had always told of a headless ghost said to be seen at Flitwick, which lies on the Pewsey side of Wootton Rivers. Flitwick is said to mean farm of disputed ownership, which might bear out this tale. Neither dog nor headless man is said to have been seen since the new rector, the Reverend R.F. Don, buried the bones found in the cottage in the churchyard with some committal prayers. And then it says, personally, I doubt if the dog has any connection with the skeleton. Dean Water is one of the boundaries of several parishes in a forest charter, a likely haunt for these black hounds.
Nice. So there you have it. There is kind of harking back to our second episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of black dog folklore out there, and I'm kind of glad to find Savenac's no different really. And sitting here in the dark, you can kind of find that little bit more likely now, can't you? Just
Yeah.
if anyone sees any eyes glowing like embers or coals behind us,
Let us know
let us know.
before this goes out. Preferably any minute now.
Yeah, any minute. Yeah, just let us know.
I'm not scared, but there is a strange odour emanating from my pants.
It's quite usual, business as usual. Don't worry about that. So yes, have you got another one, or shall I tell my tale of
I think
Mum's
you
Net?
tell your scary mum's net tale, but we wait for this to happen.
Yes.
Kind of be funny if in years to come people talk of Spectral.
I was
being
just
sat in
about to say
Savernake
that.
Woods as they drove along. I saw something in the woods.
I was going to say 2 horrid-looking little creatures with
Speak for
glows
yourself.
emanating. Gollum-like.
Wow. Charmed.
Yeah, so maybe we'll become the folklore.
Yeah. So you've got, from the very unusual location of Mum's Net.
It's not where I find most of my stories, I must say. Although,
Why are you frequenting Mum's Net?
Well, they've got acronyms for everything. I had to go and look at a Mum's Net dictionary to find out what half these phrases meant. But I was researching just ghost stories, Savenac, a pretty easy search, and it came up. It was a big long rabbit hole of finding. Someone said, "Does anyone remember that creepy story that someone shared?" And you bounced through 3 different forums, and I finally found it. So the story goes, and this was written in 2019 on this post, and it's said to have taken place a few years prior to that a lady was staying at a friend's house, which was a small holding attached to a cottage on the edge of the forest. She was staying there alone. Her husband was back at their place some miles away, and she was sitting inside. Now, this woman had a lot of animals. She had chickens, she had geese, she had another fucking car.
Did she?
Yeah, plenty of cars.
Pothole, mate. You want to slow down there?
There he goes.
Jeez. That one took off. Yeah, so she had chickens and a car.
So she had chickens in a car. Yes. So, this lady's pet sitting for her friend. This small holding has got chickens, geese, Shetland ponies, and I believe 3 dogs. And one of the dogs is quite young, a Labrador puppy, I think, a black Labrador, sort of 6 months old or so, maybe a bit older. Now, she's sitting there in the living room when she hears the chickens just going nuts outside. They're kicking off, they're squawking, they're flapping around. She thinks there might be a fox trying to get in or something, so she bolts out the door, goes to look. She felt uneasy. The chickens had stopped their noise, and she thought, okay, everything's okay. But that's when, out the corner of her eye, she saw a black shape just shoot from her door into the woods. And she thought, oh no, I've lost my, she thought it was the puppy. The puppy's got out. It's lost. My friend's going to kill me. So she ran back to the house, got one of the dogs on a lead, very sensibly thinking, I don't know my way around here. It's dark. It's the woods. I'll take the dog with me. It will know the way back. So she gets one of the dogs on lead, leaves the other one inside, and makes her way into the forest. She's going through the forest for some time. She starts taking twists and turns, calling for the pup, and not getting anywhere. And that's when the dog on the lead stops, and hackles go up, teeth bend, starts growling in a low tone, like a real deep gravelly growl. And she starts to worry, and she's trying to pull this dog along, but it just won't budge. It's just sort of hunkered down, and she swears she hears things moving, which, you know, isn't that unusual. It's a forest at night. But when she's doing this, she thinks she sees things moving as well as hearing them. So she is getting quite worried now, and she mutters something loud to herself, and I think it's something along the lines of, "Jesus, I don't need this." And that's when she heard it, a voice, a snickering, nasty voice. She described it as, it felt like it was just behind her left ear, saying, "Do not say that name." And she froze. The dog froze. Even the dog had stopped growling at that point. They both seemed just frozen to the spot. And that's when she heard another voice. She don't know whether it was an actual voice or whether it was in her head, but something just boomed.
"Go, run, go now."
And so she ran. She ran through the forest, just careening through branches in the face, low sort of hanging limbs, thankfully not decapitated.
I was going to say, has she not heard the story?
Yeah. Rushing through brambles, the dog sort of leading her this way and that. She finally got back to the house. She could have swore something was chasing her. You know, she heard loads of crashing. Some of it was probably her, but, you know, she really felt like she was being chased. She genuinely thought she was going to die. She gets back to the house. The chickens are going nuts again. The animals are making a lot of noise. She gets to the back door, unlocks it, throws it open, dives inside, locks the door, bolts it. She sees the dogs inside going nuts, all three of them. The pup had never left the house, so she has no idea what that was that bolted out of her house, this black shape that ran into the woods. But she described her actions then as locking and shutting every window, pulling down the blinds, and said she spent the rest of the night walking around the house, just muttering every prayer she remembered from childhood. She describes herself as not a believer, not a religious person, not a believer in the paranormal, quite sceptic, but she has no idea what this was. She was terrified. She called her husband the next morning saying, "Please, you know, I can't do another night alone in this house." She said that nothing else happened after that, but she really, really couldn't face going into any woods alone after that. So, yeah, that is probably the most in-depth story I actually managed to find about Savernake Forest, and of all places. Recent. So, thanks, Mumsnet. And yeah, fairly recent. Yeah, within the last 10 years. So,
it's a pretty good one.
Maybe the witch.
Yeah.
Maybe the black dog. Who knows?
Maybe a combination.
Mm.
Yeah.
Have we got anything else, or are we on for weird news next? Or
so we're gonna wander back to the Weirdmobile, aka my van. If we see anything, I guess we might do some more recording. Otherwise, we're gonna come back in with some weird news.
I'm hoping there's not just going to be like loads of dead pigeons stuffed in trees. That would be a bit too much.
I'm hoping that all we find is dead pigeons stuffed into trees all the way back.
Trees stuffed in dead pigeons, you know, who knows?
That's how, you know, it's like Hansel and Gretel, and you drop the bits of bread on the floor so you can find your way back. I stuffed dead pigeons into trees.
It was you all along, just like, I'm going to get lost, just stuff it in the tree. You just use rope, man. Okay. Be normal.
Fair enough. Right, let's go and hopefully see something spooky.
Let's do it.
Andy? Where are you gone? Andy?
All right, Andy, so I put the restraining order back on, and so we're back in our respective
Yep, I'm back in
homes.
my padded cell with books. And we
Yeah.
survived.
We survived. I didn't bring anything home, did you?
I don't think so. Like, things keep falling off of shelves, and, you know, I'm craving the taste of flesh. But apart from that,
I was going to say, if things are falling off shelves, are you just being clumsy, or?
I mean, that also tracks. But yeah, no weird goings on outside the usual. Everyone I told about at work, and Becky, when I told Becky about the pigeon, though, they were all a little bit freaked out. The pigeon was probably the most freaky thing. Although we did see that ghost that was definitely not a lens flare from that jogger.
Hey, that got us a couple of thousand views on TikTok and a few extra followers. So
Excellent. More orbs.
Yes. So yeah, we're gonna do some weird news.
I think so. I think so. But just to recap, what did you think of Savenac?
Lovely place.
It
Should
is
spend the night
nice.
there. Yeah.
On a scale of like strolling a pit, sort of strolling, sort of evening stroll, and a sort of shit your pants scary. What would you rate Savenac as a forest in the dark?
So hang on, which way does the scale go?
I don't know. Just you tell me. One
So
being
it's,
the lowest, 10 being the highest.
so 10 is I've shit the bed.
10 is again.
1.
1.
It's not scary at all, is it?
No. But I'm sure there are more pleasant woods out there in the dark. Like I think if I'd have been alone, I'd have been more freaked out.
Maybe. I don't know.
You may be used to stalking around woods alone at night, but
Well, okay, I should probably put it a bit higher because again, it's people. I think.
Yeah, as we're going to talk about later. But yeah, okay, it wasn't. It's such an old forest, and you can kind of feel that, but at the same time, it feels like it should have more ghost stories attached to it, more folklore to it, more legends to it.
Yeah, still not many considering the size and age.
Yeah, I mean there are some freaky old trees in there, and some really tall. Like I can imagine, like a bit of mist. It's just getting dark. You're on your own. You don't quite know where you're going. With those huge trees looming over you, and those like weird misshapen oaks. It's going to be quite a freaky place at night,
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll spend the night there next time.
Could do. I've got a few forests on my list that I think might be a bit creepier, so maybe we can do those at some point.
Are you going to name and shame them now, or are we going to say?
Okay, Wisman's Wood's one of them. It's a small one, but it looks like Fangor Forest, man. It's
I know that one. I've never been, but
and that has got some black dog folklore to it, and there's some nasty ones, which is unusual for Wessex, as we mentioned. They're usually good puppers, but there's the Yeth. I think it's the Yeth Hound supposed to be there, which are definitely on the bad side of black dogs. And there's a few other. I know the Wild Hunt's supposed to go through there, and Epping Forest. I mean, I think Most Haunted already got to that one, but you got like Dick Turpin, you got other folklore there, and honestly, a shit ton of murders and bodies found there. It's just outside of London. It's a popular spot to drop off the body.
I was going to say, so again, that's more scary because of the actual people.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that it's by London, it's like,
it's
maybe
scary,
not.
Right? I'm trying to think.
There's one I'd like to do, but it's not technically Wessex. It's close.
Go on, which one?
Rendlesham.
I know that one. Why do I know that one?
There was a very famous Rendlesham incident involving UFOs.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know the details off the top of my head.
I know the one you mean now. I know the one you mean.
And it was some very, high-level military people from the UK and the US, I believe, that witnessed something that some people say might have been the nearby lighthouse.
Yeah, wasn't there like stories of burnt trees and radiation and stuff like that as well, though, attached to that one? I can't remember.
Not sure about that. I know it's mostly flashing lights, I think. Yeah, but I think it's next to a military base, so I don't know whether we might get taken in if we go there or
maybe we'll do that one from the comfort of our own homes. I'd love to go to Troller's Gill up in Yorkshire. That's a freaky looking place. It's not a woods, but it's on the moors, and it's this sort of kind of gorge, really rocky, with this really ominous entrance that's got a load of troll folklore around there. So that's somewhere I'd like to spend a night. Be with my people. So yeah, I guess Savernake Forest, lovely place to be. Some creepy dead birds, but one creepy dead bird, maybe an orb. But
I think we need if we're gonna go out again, we need to up the sort of stakes a little bit and go to like you've got these places you can go and do like ghost hunts and do like a haunted asylum or something. Like I think maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd necessarily do it as part of a tour though, So
we're gonna do some weird news.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you want to go first, or shall I?
Yes, I can go first. I've just realised that my notes are on my phone, so I tried to be professional this week, and I made notes because I always bumble through the article because of all the ads and stuff. But now I'm reading from the article. So yeah, weird doomsday fish sparks fears of impending natural disaster.
Doomsday fish. Bad name.
Yeah. So this is from the Metro. Another devastating natural disaster is imminent, or at least that's what people are fearing after a rare doomsday fish was caught in Thailand. The oarfish is a giant sea creature known as the harbinger of doom that lives in the depths of the ocean and is scarcely seen by human eyes. And according to Japanese folklore, if you're ever lucky enough, or in this case, very unlucky to see one in shallow waters, it means an earthquake or a tsunami is on the way.
Ooh.
Yeah. It says fishermen reeled in the eerie-looking beast, which can grow to as long as 11 meters in the Andaman Sea on Wednesday. I think that's enough details, to be honest. It goes on for a bit, but you get the idea.
I'm Googling doomsday fish now.
It's kind of funky looking.
Oh, that is a horrible looking. Oh,
Yeah.
they're massive.
Yeah.
That is a creepy looking fella.
Yeah.
There's someone's just randomly thrown a picture of a axolotl in there as well, just to, I don't know, cheer you up, I guess, because they look cute. But yeah, the oarfish, damn, that is that's massive.
So more predictions, because I think we did predictions on the last episode, didn't we?
We did, yeah. No asparagus involved in this one.
No. I read some other predictions earlier, but we're not going to do that again.
Maybe we'll do a Nostradamus-y sort of doomsday episode.
The experiments had just come up again there, so I said that. I think my computer's listening to me. Turn it off.
I don't know. Maybe I need to, I don't know, throw Brussels sprouts or something. I can be a sproutomancer. Right. So my bit of weird news.
It's not us, is it?
It's us. Yes.
Goblins at the side of the road in the woods.
Yeah, two little gremlin-like creatures seen in Savenac woods. Kept prodding a dead bird in a tree. So
I don't want to know what you did to it.
Andrew Lloyd Webber claims to have had a poltergeist.
Ooh.
Andrew Lloyd Webber has said he once called on a priest to help remove a poltergeist from his London home. This is from the BBC. The article, not the poltergeist. The composer believed the spirit had taken up residence in the 19th century property he owned in Belgravia. In an interview with the Telegraph, Lloyd Webber said the poltergeist would take theatre scripts and place them in neat piles in odd places. That's just his cleaner. He said he'd never seen a ghost, but had witnessed some unusual activity in his central London home.
Cough break.
Lord Lloyd Webber said, I did have a house in Eaton Square which had a poltergeist. It would do things like take theatre scripts and put them in a neat pile in some obscure room. In the end, we had to get a priest to come and bless it. And it left. The theatre created the music for Phantom of the Opera. Sounds, yeah. Lloyd Webber also composed scores for a number of, it just goes on to say what he did. But yes, apparently Andrew Lloyd Webber had a poltergeist.
Sounds like a useful poltergeist, though. I mean, it's not done anything bad.
You know what I mean? You don't, you hear of him like chucking things across rooms and like breaking things and, not like, I could use one of those. I wouldn't lose my notes anymore. Well, I guess if they were put in some obscure room. But the Phantom of the Opera jokes would have been too easy to make there, so I didn't even bother. But so I found that pretty weird. It's always nice when you get a celebrity one.
Yeah.
Was it the singer of Slade seeing a UFO was one of them, wasn't it?
I think you're bringing one every episode now.
I'm trying to. I'm going for a theme.
You're hoping to name drop that they might come on the show, I guess.
That's it. That's it. So, Andrew Lloyd Webber, if you are one of our 5 listeners, then come and tell your story.
Yeah, so on the next episode, we are going to be covering the Hungerford Massacre and the serial killer, Chris Halliwell. But they'll probably drop at the same time as this episode, so don't worry about it. If you're not into that kind of thing, you can skip by it and we'll be back to the normal schedule soon, right? So what have we got coming up? I think we're going to do some barrows.
Yeah, barrows, maybe big cat sightings. We've got a few things in the works, as I mentioned. I'm potentially looking at our next on-site one, but that won't be for a little while, preferably when it's warmer. But
then it'll be too sunny. You'll have to stay later.
I said, just pull an all-nighter.
You need like the coldness of your breath in the videos.
I'll just vape, man. Just vape.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone listening has got any suggestions for places we can visit for future episodes, that's probably a good idea. But
that would be fantastic.
Yeah, especially if you know like a connection somewhere and can get us in somewhere, then that's even better because we don't have a budget, do we?
Get a random email. Come in my haunted house.
And then I'm going to force the issue, Andy, but we are going to do the exorcism of Michael Taylor coming up soon.
All right, cool. We'll go up to that northern border of Yorkshire that is also Wessex, apparently.
Yeah, it's very, very North Wessex, we're calling it. But it's a story I heard about just before Christmas, and I think it's worth covering because it's a kind of strange one, and it involves an exorcism and some a few grisly details at the end of that one. But yeah, we've got loads to come, haven't we?
We have. So
you can't shut us up.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, yes, we will see you. Well, either on the episode that's dropping right now as well, or next time. Stay weird.
And me.